She knew what would happen on 9/11. She knew that Ukraine will have to deal with a disaster. So if you want to know who is that person, stay tuned. It was a hot summer afternoon in 1923 and 12-year-old Vangelia Pinvadetrova was out in the field of Strumisal, Bulgaria. She was playing near the wheat crops. She had wandered too far from home, chasing the wind as it danced through the tall grass. She loved the outdoors, loved feeling the earth beneath her bare feet. That day she was with other children, laughing, playing a game where they would throw pebbles and try to guess where they would land. Suddenly, the sky darkened, the wind howled, and without warning, a violent storm swept through the fields. The other children ran, screaming for their parents, but Vangelia was too far from the village. The wind roared like a demon, swirling around her, picking up dust and rocks, making it impossible for her to see. But as she tried to run, something terrible, very terrible happened. The storm lifted her off the ground. She was pulled into the air like a leaf caught in a hurricane. She tumbled through the sky, dirt filling her mouth and her hands clawing at empty space. When finally she was crushed down, the force slammed her into the ground, half burying her in sand and debris. She struggled to stand, to wipe the dust away from her eyes and mouth. But something was wrong. Although she had wiped the dust away from her eyes, she wasn't able to see. Her screams echoed across the empty fields. Hours later, when the villagers found her, her eyes were swollen shut, filled with dust and blood. She begged them for help, but there was nothing they could do. The storm had stolen her sight forever, but something else had awakened inside her. Baba Vanga was born in that day. The first time she had a vision, she screamed for hours. Shadows danced where there were none. Voices whispered secrets not meant for mortal ears. She knew things before they happened, things she shouldn't know. People whispered about her, feared her, but they always listened because she was always right. At first, people pitied her, a young woman robbed of her sight, forever trapped in darkness. But the pity didn't last long because something else took its place. She knew things she shouldn't have known. She would say a traveler wouldn't return home, and the next day the village learned of a man lost to the river. A woman would visit her desperate for hope, and Vanga would grip her hand, trembling, her voice barely a whisper. "Prepare yourself, he is already gone." She was right. She was always right. The villagers no longer saw a blind girl. They saw something else, something they couldn't understand. Some feared her, others worshipped her. They stopped calling her Vangelia. She was Baba Vanga now, the woman who saw beyond the veil. Her first true prophecy, the disaster in Ukraine. She spoke of a land torn apart by war, brothers turning against brothers, a nation on fire. People dismissed her words, but when the war came, it was as if she had opened a wound in time, a wound that would never heal. Her followers whispered, "She warned us, she always warned us." Then there was the death of Princess Diana. Baba Vanga had seen it years before, a tragic accident, a beloved woman taken too soon. When the news broke, when Diana's car crashed in that tunnel, the world mourned, but her followers only nodded. She knew, she always knew, they said. And then her most chilling vision of all, one spoken in riddles but etched in history forever. She said that 2 steel birds are gonna fall from the sky and the streets are gonna run with red blood. People ignored her, brushed it off, but when the plane struck the Twin Towers on 9/11, when the world changed in an instant, her word came rushing back. 2 steel birds, blood in the street. But the darkest prophecy of all was her own death on August 11, 1996. At the age of 85, Baba Vanga left this world. Some people say it was a natural death. Others believe she was taken, that the force that had whispered its secrets to her had finally come to claim its prize. Yet even in death her voice lingers. Some swear they still hear her name whispered in wind. See shadows where there should be none. The world is still following the path she predicted, and her followers say that the worst is yet to come. People usually ask, what did she know? What did she And the truth is, no one really knows. But with each disaster, with each prophecy fulfilled, one question remains. What happens when her final prophecy comes true? Her final prophecy was the most chilling. She spoke of a time when the darkness would consume the world, the fire would rain from the sky, and the cities would crumble. The great dragon will seize humanity in its claws, she warned. No one knows what she truly meant, war, disaster, or something worse. If her final prophecy is yet to come, the worst is still ahead of us.